Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, showing you the path to freedom and wealth. Would you like to increase your wealth, attract more money into your life so that you can live the life of your dreams? Is your mindset holding you back? With me today is James Goi Jr., aka the Attract Money Guru. He is the author of the best-selling book, How to Attract Money Using Mind Power. And he's also involved in the movie Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy. James' mission is to help people everywhere to lead a prosperous and rewarding life. James believes that modern society, financial abundance can either directly or indirectly lead to abundance in all areas of your life. He can help you manifest more money, learn how to function in line with universal laws. He can show you how the power of the mind and metaphysical techniques can bring what you want into your life. James, great to have you here.
Yes, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me, Lorna.
James, I invited you onto the show because both you and me know that your mindset plays a big part on your ability to create wealth in your life, right?
That's correct. It plays a huge part in all areas of life, and no less so in the financial and professional parts of our lives.
Yeah, because don't most people, James, struggle in, there's big areas like health, wealth, love is another big area. And most people struggle in at least one of these, right?
Yes, and probably most people, maybe even two or more.
Yeah, exactly. At least one, yes. So, attracting money, like how can we help our mind to help us stop sabotaging ourselves?
Well, I think the first step is to understand our minds a little bit. I mean, it's one of the main things that we use all the time. We're always thinking, we're always having emotions, we're always having images in our minds. But how many people, unless they're already into, metaphysics and things like that, how many people really think about how their mind works as opposed to just going through life in a reactionary way? And so when we understand that our mind is a creative mechanism, that our conscious mind helps to direct our subconscious mind, as does all the input we get from outside. And we understand that that is what basically causes our experiences, how we think, our mindsets, whether it's our money mindset or just our mindset in general. Is it positive, negative? Is it lack, based, or is it abundance based? And these things will tend to not only program us and our abilities and what we notice, the opportunities we may or may not notice in our environment. So our subconscious minds have an effect on us individually and our actions, but it also goes beyond that, as most of the great spiritual teachers and teachings would agree with, and even quantum physics today, that our thoughts go out past us, beyond us, and have an effect out in the world. And so when we know that and we use them right, things out there can start changing into what they need to be to help us bring our financial dreams and visions to reality.
Yes, I absolutely agree with everything. And, I had all these lovely questions coming up, and I was going, I'm going to ask him this, and I'm going to ask him this. When you're talking, I was thinking about my childhood, and I remember my parents saying, money don't grow on trees. We don't have any money. There's not enough money. Money's bad. And, you're talking about the subconscious and metaphysical, quantum, all that stuff. But people, and I agree with you, a lot of people don't take the time to understand how the mind works. And I think that's really crucial. But also you see that people get really stuck here. They start to look for answers. They realize they've got these poverty mindset or whatever's going on for them, but they're struggling to shift it.
Right. Because just as you mentioned, which is a great point, our money mindsets, whether they're good or bad, they started in childhood. So we have to remember this stuff is very deeply ingrained. And things, phrases like money doesn't grow on trees, or money is bad, or rich people are bad and have compromised their morals, or there's never enough to go around, or it's, who you know, and the little guy can't get ahead, and it takes money to make money. All of those things have programmed us in a certain way. And so we need to learn how to basically reprogram ourselves. And so we don't really need to do anything about all of that, those negative inputs. We just need to start putting in enough positive input so that it can displace and ultimately replace the negative. And that's how we go from being predominantly, lack based, which is what most people are, which is why most people have way less money than they'd like to have and are doing things they'd rather not be doing to have to make money. And so we can become more and more positive and creative and productive financially in attracting what we need to us, and less in ways that are going to hinder that process of money coming to us.
So how does metaphysicals and understanding the mind help us with this? Once
we understand how the mind works, then we can start to work it. So we understand that
I love that. Say that again. That's very powerful.
Yeah, once we learn how the mind works and we understand how the mind works, then we can start to work the mind in a way that's going to be productive for us. And so we know that the subconscious mind is very impressionable. And one of the things that makes a big impact on it is our emotions, the images we have, the thoughts we have, and also repetition is a key. Most people go around with these negative mantras, and most of what we hear from the news and coworkers and family members and all of this is not really empowering. It's disempowering. It's not really, faith and abundance based. It's more fear and lack and just, trying to protect ourselves and not lose something. And so they're two completely different mindsets. And so when we start to understand that it's our beliefs in a large way that dictate what we get, then we can reprogram our beliefs. That's when we start to really, understand the great power. And chapter 2 in the book is on belief. And I like to quote Claude M. Bristol from The Magic of Believing, 1948. And he wrote, "Belief changes the tempo of the mind or thought frequency. Like a huge magnet, it draws the subconscious forces into play, changing your whole aura and affecting everything about you, including people and objects at great distances." And that last part is very powerful. It affects everything about you, including people and objects at great distances. So once we understand that it is belief and it is our money mindset, which is basically all the thoughts and feelings we have about money, then we can start to use various metaphysical techniques, such as increasing our desire and expectancy, thinking end results, think and feel as if, speak as if, act as if, affirmations, visualization. I mean, I can go right down the line. There's many different, developing our intuition in a way that helps us to attract money. So it's kind of a wide-reaching philosophy, but it's really quite simple because it comes down to basically our thoughts, our feelings, our images, and the words we speak. And with those four things and that understanding of those, we can start to change how we use those four things, and therefore we start to change pretty quickly the results we're getting.
Yeah, most people, if you ask them why they don't have a certain result in their life, whether it's love or money or health, they do struggle to believe it's possible.
Right. And that's a big thing for a lot of people. And some people don't really believe that it's possible for them. And some people don't even believe that metaphysical techniques work, that there's anything to mind power. And so, we need to, but also here's another thing is our self-image. Some people don't have a self-image that's up to being a person that can attract what they want or earn what they want, and also a person that's deserving of having it. So there's a lot of conflict that goes on, and that's why a lot of people sabotage themselves. That's why you see so many lottery winners just destroy their lives. They blow through all the money They ruin their relationships. They end up with less, they end up in debt, whereas before they were just broke. Now they're dead after 4 or 5 years, and now they're divorced or whatever. And it's because their self-image wasn't supporting that, of them being a person that is deserving of that money and capable of handling it and things of that nature. So a lot of it rests on that. But really, if we harness the four, key things, and it's all under our control: how we think, how we feel, the images we allow to form in our minds, and the words we speak. When we understand that, then we can really start to change things around.
It takes a lot of discipline, though, right?
Well, in the beginning, that's very true. It takes discipline, and that's because it's so ingrained over so many years, almost always from childhood. This other way, our outlook, what we've come to believe about the world and about ourselves. So in the beginning, it requires discipline. But the good part is that the more we use discipline to think and act in the ways we're choosing to think and act, the less discipline it requires, because then habit starts kicking in. Because whatever we habitually do,
yes,
right, and that's so important, because it makes the process so much easier. The more that we do something, the more we'll just habitually do it, and habitual means habit. So if you think of somebody who's taking up running for the first time, and they have to really drag themselves out, they want to run every morning, rain or shine, snow or sleet. So they get up every morning, and they have to force themselves out of bed. Maybe they even skip a day in the beginning or two, but eventually they just keep doing it, and they develop this habit. And then before you know it, there's no willpower involved. In the beginning, it's all willpower to drag themselves out of bed and get outside. But later on, there's no willpower. It's a complete habit. They wake up, they jump up, they do whatever, they tie their shoelaces on their sneakers, and out the door they go. It's really no willpower. They don't even think about it. It's like breathing. And that's what the positive thinking and the positive money mindset and the thinking in ways that will attract money, that becomes habit down the road. And so it becomes an easier process as we go along.
And I love as well, I'm skipping back a bit here, and I love that you mentioned self-image. Like, that is huge.
Right. That is so big, and most people give the least, in other words, amount of thought to it. In other words, they have an image of themselves, but they don't think about the fact that they have an image of themselves. And I love this quote from John K. Williams, The Wisdom of Your Subconscious Mind, 1964. And he wrote, "Your present situation, be it one of prosperity or poverty, of sickness or health, of self-confidence and social acceptance, or frustration and failure, is an exact reflection of your self-image." End quote. So if people really understood that, they would see that, no matter what they do or try to do, or they could win the lottery, or it just doesn't matter. If their self-image doesn't support maintaining that they can handle that and that they deserve that, then they're going to sabotage themselves, and the universe will sabotage them. The subconscious minds will make them not be able to have that thing. It's kind of like the thermostat, and other authors have used this example. It's like a thermostat in your house. You set it at a certain level. Well, we have a thermostat in our brains, in our minds. And so once we reach a certain level of success, or once in the house you hit a certain heat, then the heater's going to go off.
I hear that.
Once we
go on. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Right. So, and we have that same thing in our minds. Once we reach a certain level of success where we've set our thermostat, basically our self-image, then boom, it turns off, and we can't go any further, because we're fighting ourselves. It's inner turmoil.
Yes, and I've heard as well that, like, whatever amount of income you're used to earning, the thermostat kicks in there, and people tend to struggle to go higher or change that, right?
Right. And so that's a big stumbling block. And that's why understanding mind power really helps people, because they understand that it is in their mind. The only barriers are really in their mind. It's not, because before that, it's, I don't have a lot of education, and the stock market's down, and it's very competitive in my field, and, it's business cycles and who and education and all this stuff. But when you start to understand mind power, you understand that it's really not about any of those things, that you can create what you want, because we create in our minds first, and then things manifest in the outer. And so it becomes, the more we understand and believe in the mind power and metaphysical techniques, then the more we understand and believe that we actually can have more money. And so that artificial barrier starts to raise. It doesn't just shoot up from I'm worth, $50,000 a year to I'm worth having a net worth of $50 million or earning $1 million a year, but it gradually starts to go up. And the more success we have with increasing our income, with having money miracles and things like that, like I've had, then the more confidence we get. And then that's when we're on the rise with expanding the power of our mind. And the result and the report card, so to speak, is really our bank accounts and our incomes also expand.
Very quickly before we wrap it up, I love that you spoke about emotions, thoughts, and images. And I know today we probably won't go into this in depth, but I'd love you to talk about repetition, because I think that's one that's overlooked, and I think it's very powerful. So I'd love you to explain, why repetition?
Right, because you see, every thought and feeling and image, every word we speak, it has an effect on the subconscious mind. But a lot of people, they have all these conflicting messages they give themselves and that they get from the world. And so the subconscious mind is going to, and advertisers know this. That's why they keep, pounding away at the same message in advertising campaigns. And they know that, you have to see or hear something 7 times or more before you're even going to, act on it. And so it's repetition that finally sinks into the subconscious mind. And that's why we've used repetition our whole lives. But most people, it's been in a disempowering way in many areas of their lives, especially finances. And so when we understand that we can't just after 50 years or 30 years or 80 years start having a few positive thoughts and goals and think everything's going to change, because we have so much repetition of the other way. But through repetition, through thinking positively, thinking end results, thinking and feeling as if, thinking about what we want, and being optimistic, by doing that every day, repetition over and over, we recondition the subconscious mind, and the substance of it becomes completely different. Whereas before it was predominantly negative, we can make it predominantly positive in relation to our goals, financial and otherwise. And that's why repetition, it's just like you can't go to the gym and have a horrendous workout and expect to be Mr. Universe or something. You've got to go to the gym, 5 days a week or more, every day, hours, over. It's repetition that builds the muscles the way you want them. It's also repetition that conditions the subconscious mind the way we want it.
Exactly. Love this, and love, James, what you've shared with us today. James, for the listeners today, and they're listening to this, they're struggling with money, they really do want to create financial freedom in their life. Where should they start?
Well, start with the basic understanding that what all of the, I guess virtually all of the religions and traditional, spiritual traditions and things, quantum physics, what they're all saying coincides with what we're talking about right now, that our minds affect our reality, and they can affect our financial reality just as well as any other area in our lives. So, understand that this is real. This hasn't been talked about for thousands upon thousands of years because there's nothing there. There's something there. So, but not only does it work, but I want people to know that they can do it. Because some people, even after they make the leap, well, maybe it works for some people, but I could never do that. And I really want people to know that you can do it. Anybody can do this. If you work the principles, if you use the techniques, if you understand the concepts, and it's not that hard to do, there's not all that much to it. You do that and you can succeed just like anybody else on the planet. There's many examples of people that came from nothing, and through a positive attitude and work, they created, fortunes. They're world famous. They're billionaires. And anyone can do that. It's not something that's exclusive to any one class of people or educational or any other kind of background.
I love that, and I love what a brilliant message to leave us with. James, how do we find out more about you?
Okay, real simply, they can just go to my website. That's jamesgoijr.com. And they can subscribe to my free monthly Mind, Power, and Money e-zine if they like. And every month I write positive messages about this subject matter, and on the first of every month. And also when they do subscribe, they'll get a free PDF copy of my entire book, the Attract Money Forever, which is a companion book to How to Attract Money Using Mind Power, and covers all of the same information, only in a more conversational, easy to read way, as opposed to the manual style of the book.
Thank you, James. This has been amazing.
Thank you too. This has really been fun being on with you. I really enjoyed it.